Hello everybody, this is Kyrix with another episode of This Week in Kyrix. This is for the week of Wednesday, March 24th, 2021, being recorded on Saturday, March 27th, 2021. I originally tried to record this Tuesday and got about 30 minutes in, and the PlayStation got unplugged, and I basically just yelled fuck it and didn't get back to it until today. Now, let's start with the good news. Yeah, the good news is apparently whatever function makes me burp is working. That's wonderful. No, the good news is unemployment has been finally dealt with. As of not yesterday, but Friday, last Friday, the 19th, I want to say. Yes, as of the 19th, I finally got unemployment settled. I managed to get a hold of them. I don't know if it was the last live chat. I don't know if it was me recompleting the ID thing, because it gave me the option to do that. I don't know if it was me writing to my state representative. But something finally worked, and my account was unlocked, and I was able to claim a check. And then the 24th rolled around and I claimed another check. Now here's the thing. When you claim a check in Florida's unemployment system, there are always two things shown. I thought they were two sections. I thought they were two checks, that each one was its own check. Turns out it's the 2 weeks of the individual check. So I'm sitting here thinking that I claimed both the checks I missed, and I was confused why they expired on the same day, but I wasn't going to question it. Then, when the 24th came along, there were two more. I'm thinking, did it not register one? So I claimed what I thought was one of them again. And then, sure enough, only two checks registered, so I got a hold of live chat. And after about 20 minutes of talking, we figured out where I was fucking up, that the one that was missing was the one that I was supposed to get February 24th. You know, for the last week of March, or last week of February. I had the two from March. I was missing the one from February. And I basically said something along the lines of, it looks like the one's missing is there, and my account was locked, and I did what I was supposed to do, and I shouldn't be penalized for it. And they're like, you're not going to be. And they got with their supervisor, and within a half hour it was back on my account. Sadly, I wasn't able to continue the live chat because my computer decided that the live chat took up more resources than the computer had. I could run literally everything else on the computer, but the live chat was just too fucking much, and eventually they disconnected, and I feel bad that I didn't, even get to say thank you, but it was literally taking 2 minutes to load something, and then 2 minutes to enter it once I hit enter. So, all three checks have been claimed that I was supposed to have. I have. Later today, I'm going to try and get bike number 2. Sometime next week, I assume, I'm going to try and get my new mattress. No line on the PlayStation VR, and I'm going to wait for another check to get the PlayStation 5. I'm not in a particular rush for that because, well, quite frankly, I don't need it yet. I don't own any... Well, I own several games for it, but they're games I have on the PS4. And to the best of my knowledge, there's nothing specific to the PS5 that I really want right now that I can't have for the PS4. So it's not a huge priority for me that I get the PS5 yet. But I want to get it so that it's out of the way, so that someday when that magical super game pops out and I'm going to think, oh god, I wish I had a PS5, I could go, oh yeah, it's in my closet, Because for the time being, I don't really have any particular desire to make the trade over from the PS4 to the PS5. I've got so much shit on this. I've got all my saves on this. I've got all my recording data on this. I've got This Week in Kyrix on this, etc., etc. I don't think the PS5 is something I'm going to be playing recreational for quite some time. It's going to be strictly for this. But I intend to get it just to have. Apparently, what? Who the fuck taught you how to speak English, Kyrix? Apparently, they're bringing... PlayStation at Home is now a thing. They've got like 9, 10, 11 games that are free. They're only free to download for a limited time, but once you claim them, they're yours, and I have claimed them all. Games that I decided to keep on here were Abzu, I think. I think it's a water game. Subnautica was in the list, but I already own it. And Ratchet and Clank was in a separate list, but I got that already as well. Enter the Gungeon and something else. There are a bunch of games I've never heard of. I've heard of like 3 of the games. 4 if you count Ratchet and Clank. I've heard of that, I've heard of Abzu, I've heard of Subnautica, and I've heard of Enter the Gungeon. I have them now, they're mine. I effectively own them now. With my money coming in, I settled several bills. Like, I'm paid up for April on the rent. I flat out chunked that day one. It's like, hey, here roommate, have next month's rent. We're done. I don't need to fuss with that. And at some point I'll probably do the same for May's rent. I have gotten several games out of the way. I actually, for Star Trek Online, got 4 new legendary ships. No, I'm sorry, 5 new legendary ships. No, I'm sorry. Fucking 6 new legendary ships. 3 different bundles. In the past, there was a 10-ship legendary hero ship bundle, and it had the hero ships. For those who don't know, a hero ship in this case is the Enterprise NX-01, this is the Enterprise D, this is the Defiant kind of a thing. Where it flat out is meant to be the one from the show or movie. And in this bundle was the Enterprise NX-01 from Enterprise, the Enterprise NCC-1701 from Star Trek, the original series, and the motion picture. The NCC-1701 from Discovery, the NCC-1701 from the Kelvin Timeline movies, the remakes, the 1701D from Next Generation, the E from Next Generation movies, the Voyager, the Intrepid class Voyager from Voyager, the Defiant class Defiant from Deep Space Nine, the Crossfield class Discovery from Discovery, and last but not least, the Odyssey class Odyssey from Star Trek Online itself, which is also the Enterprise F. And when I got this, yes, it's cool to have all these ships, and each of the Connies do something different, but the fact that there are 3 Constitution classes kind of pissed me off. And I'm like, you could have put the Excelsior and the Ambassador on there and had the Enterprise B and the Enterprise C, or the Excelsior and the Enterprise C. Well, one of the Legend packs, it's a 4-ship pack, the 2021 anniversary, does just that. 2 of the ships are the Excelsior and the Ambassador class, which for some reason has a cloaking device. I don't know. And the other 2 ships are a Burrell class, which is the classic bird of prey that we're all familiar with, and the Vorchak class. I don't know what ship it's meant to represent. Just because I don't know any of the names of the Vorchas from the show. I know a couple because I own them on Star Trek Attack Wing, but I don't know them from the show. Like, it's not like the Negvar or the Pah or the Rotaran, where there's a hero ship that sticks out as the example of that ship. I also got the Romulan Captain Bundle, which comes with the Tier 6 Legendary Tavaro/Talis class Bird of Prey, Warbird, which is the one from, what's it called? Balance of Terror. And it is, the starter Romulan ship. It's got all the things. It's got the enhanced battle cloak, so it can fire torpedoes while cloaked. It has actually become my main task force ship on my main character, because it fires torpedoes real fast. And, on top of that, there's a coupon I can redeem at any time to just make a new Romulan jump straight to level 65. I don't know if or when I'll be doing that, but I have it as an option. It also came with a bunch of other stuff, like it came with some low-buy crystals, it came with 2 Tier 6 coupons, which I ended up spending like 10-20 minutes just going through the list looking for things that weren't part of a bundle, but the way it was redeeming them, it kept skipping a bunch of shit, and it pissed me off, and I just claimed 2 of them. And what was it? And anyway, then I ended up buying 2 more bundles. I cannot pronounce properly the name, but it's like the Bortos or whatever class. It's the Klingon flagship that was introduced at the time of the Odyssey. I bought the Tier 5 and Tier 6 bundle. I basically dumped $100, which gave me 110 whatever Zen, which was enough to get both bundles, so I did. That completes my flagship set. I now have all of the Scimitar variants. The Odyssey Legendary has all the Odyssey variants, and now I have the Klingon variants. In addition, when I bought that Legacy pack, not the Legacy pack, the Legendary pack with the 4 ships, it gave me the account unlock, which was a $10 value. Honestly, I did the math, and just the ships alone, just the 4 Legacy ships, and the ship coupons alone were my money back, and on top of that I got like 11 keys and some R&D packs and the account unlock. I probably got anywhere from $150 to $200 worth of value for this $120 or whatever thing that I got. Whatever the cost was, I don't remember, I think it was actually $180. I got my value back just in the ships without even throwing all this other crap on top of it. So that's STO out of the way. I've got some notes here. New games. I've actually added several new games on top of the new games that I had when I did this originally. Like, I have Cuphead, and I'm in the process of recording it. I might erase that recording in favor of one with Robert if I can talk him into playing it with me. But I have Cuphead, I have Stardew Valley. I bought Chocobo's Mystery Dungeon. It's one that I've been meaning to get for like the past the past stimulus I meant to get it, and I opted not to. The $600 stimulus I meant to get it, and I didn't. The 14 stimulus I meant to get it, and I didn't. And like the past 2 checks I got, I meant to get it, and I didn't. And I finally said, fuck it, Chocobo Dungeon, I need it. So I have it now. I noticed, I was watching Kiara from HoloLive play, well, I wasn't watching her play, I was watching a clip of her playing the Atelier game. I forget what it is, but it's one that I saw it and I'm like, wow, the main character is gorgeous. I want to play this game. And it's not just that shallow. I've played other games from this series and I like the mechanics, so I bought it for that too. But this is the sequel and I'm like, do they have the original? They had both. I bought them. And I also bought the Arland trilogy, which is Atelier, and I might be mispronouncing that, but that's the way I heard it in the game. But anyway, the trilogy for Arland is Rorona, Maruru, and Totori, which I physically own. I own the discs. I could literally, if I had a webcam, I could show you the discs right now for the PS3. But now I own them on the PS4. Rorona will be not a blind playthrough, but Maruru and Totori will be, and then I'll do the other one. The 1 and 2 with the really hot protagonist. I also bought the Romancing Saga 2 and 3, as well as some other ones like Scarlet something, I think. I reserved Saga Frontier Remastered, which comes out in like a month. I reserved Resident Evil 8, which comes out in like 2 or 3 months. I've been very busy. I went somewhere from like 245 games to 263 games in the span of like a week. I honestly do not remember what all I've bought, and I can't really zoom out right now in this recording to look. But there are a lot of games. Some of them I bought for me. There's a couple I bought just for me. And there's a bunch that are going to be playthroughs, Let's Plays. Like Stardew Valley almost certainly is not going to be a Let's Play. It might be in the future. It might be my new This Week in Kyrix once this has run its course. But for now, it's just a thing for me. That actually kind of segues into the next topic, which is I have a brand new segment on my channel. It hasn't aired yet. I'm still in the process of recording a backlog for it. It's kind of like This Week in Kyrix, where it is a weekly release that I pre-record and then dub over. But it is a completely different meaning to it. It's not... This Week in Kyrix is for me. It's entirely for me. It's a venting tool. Not a venting tool in a, oh my god, today sucked. A venting tool in the sense that when I originally released the very first This Week in Kyrix, it was meant to cover an issue I was having, which was, while I was recording other games, I was talking about other games I was recording. Like, I'd record an episode of Mega Man Battle Network and spend half the episode talking about Pokemon Emerald. And then I'd record Resident Evil 4, and I'd be talking about Final Fantasy 7. Well, not 7, but 5, you know what I mean? Like, I could not, for the life of me, keep track. Like, nowadays, I'll mention, like, oh, I'm playing Kingdom Hearts. Oh, this is so much better than Final Fantasy 7's remake, you know, but I'm not gonna spend the entire thing ranting about that, because I created This Week in Kyrix to rant about shit like that, to talk about other games. I get it out of my system here so that it doesn't bleed into other projects. But it also serves as an update. It serves as an update for people and for me as well, to remind me what happened in the week, because a lot of times I forget. Some of these weeks are a goddamn blur. And especially for this year in Kyrix, when that comes around, I have all these notes via the descriptions to remind me of all the shit that happened in the year, and I can reflect, like, there's a lot of good shit that happened to me in 2020, and there's a lot of bad shit that happened to me in 2020. And having This Year in Kyrix at the very end of the year helps me put that into perspective. Like, wow, I actually accomplished quite a bit this year. Wow, I spent the whole day scooting my ass on the carpet like a dog with worms, you know? So yeah, that's something. I also bought several, very cheap, mind you, games for friends of mine, because I'm one of those people where I have, for a very long time, been incredibly broke. Partly because we're not, like, super well off as a family, and partly because my mother spent my childhood actively ruining my future. I love my mother, but that's what she did. She basically engineered a situation so that I could not live as a functional adult independent of her. And that really has bit me in the ass in every way possible once we moved out of the trailer park that we were living in, the assisted living, not assisted living, but the retirement park. Because I had to get an apartment, and she was living with us at the time, but there was all these things that I had to learn that no one ever taught me, like the steps of getting an apartment, how to handle rent and shit. And I learned quickly, and I got most of it down, but it's... I actually was talking to Sammy the other day. I'm not going to get into what's happening with her, because that's her own thing. She's having some ordeals at the moment, and it's not my place to discuss it for all of you. But we talked for about an hour 2 days ago, and I happened to mention that if anyone else who was less, let's say, adaptive had been in my situation, they'd have been completely fucked. It's only... And I honestly credit gaming for this, for shaping my mind to be as sharp as it is when it comes to adapting to new circumstances. If I weren't a gamer, I'd probably be homeless right now. I would not have been able to cope. And on top of that, as I keep telling people, I'm a gold medal financial gymnast. Well, anyway, basically this means that I've been living off charity of other people for a while. Like, I'm not used to, you know, getting to go out to a restaurant. If we go out to a restaurant, it's because one of my friends is paying for me, you know. Like, I don't go to TGI Fridays and just get the appetizer buffet like everyone else does. One of my friends pays for me. Half the time when I went to Cece's with the group, someone covered my check, you know. And it hurt me as a person. If you've never had to ask people to pay for you at a restaurant, you don't know how much it stings. And I'm not an exceptionally prideful person, but God, it just punched your pride right in the dick. But anyway, the flip side of this is I am an incredibly generous person as a result. I know the value of generosity. I know how much it can improve a person's day to just get something from someone, especially if you didn't ask. So for the past 3 days, several people in my Steam friends list have logged on and like, oh, I have a new game, thank you. One of them was one I didn't even necessarily intend to buy. I mean, I made the choice to buy the game and send it to them. But I did not log into Steam with the intention of buying this person a gift. It's one of Eisen's friends. I meant to go on to buy Monster Prom 2 for Veli, because she and I played the original Monster Prom and never got around to Monster Prom 2. And when I was doing that, I noticed this person on my friends list from hanging with Eisen's crew wanted the game. And I'm like, well, shit. I've got money. Some of his friends have given me games. And I don't remember who gave me what, but I've gotten games from them. So I buy him the game and all the DLC. Came to about, I'm going to round up, $22. Not a big deal. And basically told him, hey, you're good. Check your Steam account, because I didn't want the gift to expire. I don't know how often he's on Steam. He's like, oh, thanks, I'll get you back. I'm like, if you want to get me back, organize a playthrough for like 4 of us to just play together. That's all I want. I don't necessarily need you to buy me a game, especially on Steam, where my computer probably can't handle it. My computer probably can't handle a third of the games on my wish list, and the rest of them are all like multiplayer games where I need someone to play with anyway. I would rather you play a game with me than get me a game, you know? But I did that, and I actually have bought another controller. I still have my Steam controller, and it still has a place in my gaming arsenal. Like, Barotrauma would be basically unplayable without it, because it's got a little mouse wheel in it. But I bought a more conventional PlayStation 4 style wireless controller with a little nodule that I plug into the USB port. I checked. It should be here like April 4th, according to the website. And I bought that for my PC so I could play some other games. Like, I recently bought Overcooked 2 for a couple people, and I would rather the more familiar controller in my hand than the Steam one. For those who've never seen a Steam controller, it is superficially very much like the PlayStation 4 controller. If you have one, like a PlayStation, any PlayStation, they're all shaped the same. Like, from PlayStation 1 all the way to 4, put that in your hand right now. Where your right thumb is, where it's supposed to be the face buttons, square, triangle, circle, X, is the mouse wheel. And down about where the right thumbstick is the actual X, Y, A, B buttons. And that really fucks with me and makes it very hard to hit those buttons for literally anything. And that kind of bites me in the ass in Barotrauma, because my fingers aren't trained to go down to that area for buttons. I really wish the two things had been switched. Like, the mouse wheel should be where the control stick was, and the face button should be where the mouse wheel is. But it is what it is. And that's why I wanted the more conventional thing. If I'm playing Overcooked with a friend, I don't want to be hunting for my buttons. I want them to be there. And I'm even going to play Overcooked on my PlayStation 4 to make sure the buttons are mapped to what they are, so that I have that muscle memory to fall back on. And the reason for buying Overcooked is the 4th note in my thing, because I talked about 3 of the 5 notes, and the 4th note here is live streams. I am not live streaming, don't get all perky about that. I physically could, but I don't want to. I'm not a live streaming dude. But my friend does, and I'm actually scheduled later tonight to do a live stream with him, which is last week. I'm gonna say Friday, Saturday, Sunday-ish, weekend-ish. We did what was supposed to be an 8-hour live stream. It turned into 5.5 hours. Not because we ran out of steam, though I was getting very hungry, but because during one of our breaks, bathroom breaks, that kind of thing, he was reminded that he had a doctor's appointment that morning and really needed to sleep, so we called it there. But we played Barotrauma, and it was a lot of fun. And in the next week or so, I'm sure I will get around to remembering to put his info in there, especially if this becomes a habit, and it might, where I just live stream with him every week or every other week or so. But we did Barotrauma, and I decided to get him back into Heroclix, because I found a mod for Tabletop Simulator that worked really good with it. And that's part of what we're supposed to do tonight. is at least 2 matches of Heroclix. One where we're playing Age of Ultron. That is the event, not the movie. I am playing the original Avengers plus Captain America. That is to say, I am playing Ant-Man, Wasp, Thor, Iron Man, Hulk, and Captain America. 6 people. Now, I actually have 18 people on my field, but that's just because I'm playing Hank Pym. And the Age of Ultron Pym especially is known for his morph ability, where I basically can turn into any variation of him I want via a move, attack, or power action. Basically, if he does anything that's not a free action, I can change him. Like if he's Ant-Man, I can turn him into Goliath, or Wasp, or Giant Man, or another version of Ant-Man, or just flat out Hank Pym or Yellow Jacket, you know. And there are like 12 or so different Pyms. And it's worth noting, I own all of these Pyms. I own the complete set. Like, I went through the trouble to trade and buy the ones I was missing off people, the super rares for the Age of Ultron set. And I made it a point to buy the Giant Man box set that came with all of the Pyms. Because there was a full set of Pyms from Age of Ultron. I don't think Wasp was one of them. So it was Hank Pym, Ant-Man, Yellow Jacket, Goliath, and Giant Man, right? And then you get the Pym box where you have Hank Pym, 2 different Ant-Man, one of which was a Puck, Wasp, Yellow Jacket, Goliath, and a Colossal Giant Man. And together they make like 12 people. And they actually link up with the I want to say Chaos War Hank Pym set, which was Hank Pym, Ant-Man, Goliath, I want to say? And Wasp. No, it's Hank Pym, Ant-Man, Wasp, and Yellow Jacket. That's what it is. One of the Yellow Jackets that you can play as in the newer set, the Ultron set, can specifically turn into one of the 75-point Pyms, but with the caveat that it's permanent. That you are now locked into the 75-point Pyms, which there's only a couple of, versus the other Pyms that you were playing before. So it's basically you make your choice. Which Pym do you want to be? But for this game, I will not be playing the 75-point Pyms, just the 100-point Pyms. And it's worth noting that I played those Pyms for years. Like, I think it's only in the last year or so that I was playing Heroclix that I finally stopped running the Pyms, and that's just because so many new sets came out that I didn't really have time to dig out my old shit. So it's been something like 3 years, I want to say. 2 or 3 years since I last played Heroclix, and another year on top of that since I last played the Pyms. Meanwhile, my friend will be running Ultron. It was originally just going to be a full Ultron team, but I restructured it so that it's Ultron, Vision, Alchema, 2 Ultron drones, and Jocasta run as an entity. Entity being a term that our group used for one of the figures that can be equipped to another character and act like a secondary dial for them. And yeah, I'm going to teach him how that works. And then I decided as round 2, I'm going to have him learn how resource styles work. We're going to play a match with the not the Infinity Gauntlet, the Utility Belt. I basically told him, there are 3 resource styles I want to teach you with. These are the 3 that I'm going to give you. I will let you choose. You can either choose for both of us to use the same resource style, or one to use one and one to use another. And the 3 we're going to choose are the Infinity Gauntlet, the Utility Belt, and the Phoenix Force, just because those are very easy to learn. As opposed to, say, you know, the Mandarin Rings, or the ID card, you know, the Justice League table, or the Avengers table, the Quinjet, you know, the fucking Book of the Skull, shit like that. Those were like the 3 earliest ones, so they have the least bullshit attached to them, and he opted for us both to use the Utility Belt. I almost said utility gauntlet. His team at this point has not been made yet. Mine is preloaded into the game. I'm going to get his team from him, load them in, and we're going to play around with the utility belts. Now, the cool thing about the utility belt is, originally, the first one released was the Infinity Gauntlet, and everyone was like, dude, you're going to follow the Infinity Gauntlet with the utility belt. The utility belt cannot possibly live up to the power of the gauntlet, which was true. But what it lacks in power, it makes up for in utility, because, ironically, the utility belt has 7 slots. It has 1 costume slot and 6 item slots. And you can equip up to 3 of the same item on the belt at a time, so you can basically run it with 6 different items, 2 different items, or any combination thereof. And the utility belt gives you constant bonuses, like sometimes it'll give you a special power you can use, sometimes it'll give you a bonus stat, sometimes it'll let you use an item in a slot for free, like, oh, I have batarangs in slot 2, well this round slot 2 is free, so if I use my batarangs, I don't lose them. Whereas normally if I use my batarangs, they're gone. You know, I just take them off and that's just gone. And there's another one where, like, oh, I can use the batarangs, and then I can use slot 3, which is my rebreather, in the same round, as a free action kind of thing. So, there are something like 20 different utility belt items, and they range in usefulness from, oh my god, do not ever play a game without this on your belt, to, oh my god, why is this on your belt? You know, like, 2 items that come to mind, and I actually own both of them, are, and one of them was a bitch to get, because we didn't get the prize kit for this one, but, in the original No Man's Land, there was, or maybe it was Batman, it was either Batman or No Man's Land, it came with one called the Sonic Transmitter. This was a freebie, everyone got it. And the Sonic Transmitter, basically you use it and you can move like up to 3 Flock of Bats figures as a free action. Well, the problem is Flock of Bats is a figure that only appears in one set, the Batman set. And they're really fucking rare. Like, they don't count as one of your figures. If you get them, they're an extra. But the odds of you pulling one are pretty slim. Like, I had a case of Batman, and I pulled one of each bat. Out of 20 boosters, I pulled 3 fucking bats, and my friend had like 5, and he bought multiple cases. So you're not going to have a set full of Flock of Bats. On top of that, the Flock of Bats have kind of crap keywords, and they tend to ruin theme teams unless you play a very specific version of Batman. So, yeah. So Sonic Transmitter is hot garbage in a wet sack. You know, you do not, unless you are running a very specific build with a very specific Batman, you're not going to be running enough Flock of Bats to make that viable. And that Batman already does shit with Flock of Bats. And something that I originally built my utility belt team around Batman, and I'm glad I didn't, because 2 reasons. One, it turns out the Batman set was actually not loaded into the mod, and I would have had to manually create every single figure. And 2, everything the utility belt gives you is already on every version of Batman worth playing. You know, if you're going to play a Batman, he can already do all the shit the utility belt does. So you're wasting those points, and nothing else on his team is going to be as good as he would with the utility belt. You know, it doesn't really favor the strengths of those other characters. So it just ends up not being very good. And then on the flip side, one moment. So sorry about that. I got one of those things where you had mucus build up in the back of your throat. You had to make all kinds of icky noises to make that go away. But anyway, on the flip side, an item that uses the exact same model, by the way. The only difference between this and the other one is that the Sonic Transmitter has a red little light thing on it, and this one has a green light. And this is called the, like, radar transmitter or something. like that radar monitor or something. And the difference between these two items is night and day. And this is from the Streets of Gotham set. This is the one I had to proxy for the longest time. I basically told him, let me use this sonic transmitter as though it were the radar monitor, and it was agreed. What this does, and I cannot stress enough how awesome this is, you choose a team ability on your opponent's team, even if it's not normally copyable. Take this thing off your belt, and bam, now your character for the rest of the game has that team ability. So if they're playing Quintessence, now you're Quintessence. They're playing Mystics, you're a fucking Mystic, you know? And it's really fucking useful. But the real power of the utility belt comes from the fact that you do not load the utility belt until you see what you're fighting. And I told this to my friend because he was... He's one of those people who, when he was the Heroclix judge, decided, oh, resource styles are a crutch, I don't want to use them, etc., etc., and he never bothered to play them, he never learned them. And then, the week before he was going to go to play at regionals, he's like, hey, Kyrix, teach me how to use this resource style that I've neglected the entire time. I'm thinking, dude, if you had just let me teach you this when it was new, you'd go in with all this experience, you're going to be half-assing it. But I had to teach him how to use the utility belt. It's like, okay, tell me what items to load. And I'm like, don't. He's like, what do you mean don't? I'm like, bring every item you have, up to 3 copies of each. He's like, why? I'm like, because here's what you do. You look at your opponent's team, and then you load the belt. Because that's even in the rules. You do not put items on the belt until you see what your opponent is playing. So, my team, for example... all have, with the exception of one figure, have the calculator team ability, which is just the ability to copy other team abilities. So when my friend plays against me, he's not going to want the radar monitor. It would be a waste, you know? Just the ability to copy other team abilities, which, if he has a wide variety of team abilities on his team, the person using the utility belt might want that. I, on the other hand... if he's got, say, Superman Ally and Justice League and Mystics on his team ability, I'm going to want to put a couple radar monitors on my team, or on my belt, so I can steal each of those team abilities, and then since I have them forever, they're just a part of that character now, my whole team can copy those team abilities. And that's a big difference. If he has a team that looks like it's going to favor an elevated map, then I'm going to, you know, put the grapnel gun on there because it has things like, oh, if you move from low elevation to high elevation, you get a free attack. You know, that's cool. If he's playing Atlanteans, I'm going to think, he wants a water map. Let me slap 3 rebreathers on this belt, you know. If he's got people who want to hide in the shadows, I'm going to put smoke pellets on there and pick a map with low hindering so that I'm going to create the hindering he's going to want to hide in. And he's going to have the choice, don't get shot or take damage when the smoke clears, you know. And it really revolves around, like, what your opponent plays. Like, if he does have Superman Ally in addition to the radar monitor, I'm going to want the Kryptonite Ring. That's an item on there, you know what I mean? If there's a map where we're indoors and there's lots of blocking, plastic explosives is an item I could put on the utility belt. It's nowhere near as powerful as the Infinity Gauntlet, but in the hands of a skilled player, you will get a lot more wins because it's all about finesse. The smarter you are as a player, the more adaptive you are, and the more resources you have, and since we're on Tabletop Simulator, we both have all the resources. But basically, the better you are at playing, the more you're going to get out of this belt. And I briefly described to him, when he made the choice, what each one did, and the descriptions were as follows. The Infinity Gauntlet takes one character and makes them incredibly powerful. The Utility Belt takes one character and makes them very versatile and potentially very powerful, depending on how you play them. And the Phoenix Force takes 5 characters and makes them fairly powerful, and as each one is defeated, that power distributes amongst the other characters until you have one immensely powerful figure at the end. So, it's a lot of fun. Resource styles are one of the things that I truly enjoy that was added to the game. To be fair, I love almost every mechanic that WizKids, that NECA specifically added to the game. Wow, am I bleeding? I'm bleeding. Lovely. I scraped my foot against the bottom of my chair, and it was itching, so I reached down to scratch it and felt wet, so yeah, I'm bleeding. Lovely. But, like, I love the vehicles. They're not super common. They're not used a lot. But when you do use them, they're a lot of fun. I love team bases. I am rather notorious for using Spider-Man and his amazing friends. They are my signature team base, to the point where I was widely considered in our group to be the absolute master of that figure. I have literally given lessons on how to use that figure to other people in our group. And that was at the behest of our judge. He's like, dude, my roommate can't play that worth a damn. You should teach him. You do shit with that dial I didn't think was possible. And he's one of those people who likes to fuck with you, but this was genuine praise, you know. He legitimately thought I was really good with it. So team bases were cool. Alter egos had the potential to be cool, but there were very few figures that properly capitalized on that mechanic. Bringing Colossals back and making them somewhat more attainable was really cool. Like having Colossal boosters. Granted, they were easier to buy out, like you only got one per brick, and you lost 2 boosters in the thing, or maybe it was 4 boosters. Like, normally a brick is like 10 boosters, but in a set with Colossal boosters, you get like 6 to 8 in a brick instead. But still, they were pretty cool, and they weren't as powerful as the old Colossals. Resource tiles. I love resource tiles. They bring a lot of versatility to characters by giving you access to a lot of powers you wouldn't otherwise have. Notably, when the Infinity Gauntlet first came out, we took Thanos from the original Infinity Challenge set, who was notable for having no actual powers but incredible stats. Like, his only powers were damage reducers. He was the first figure on a 12-click base to have 11 clicks of life. He had 5 clicks of invulnerability, 5 clicks of toughness, and 1 click of regeneration at the end. And when you put the Infinity Gauntlet on him and gave him access to all of those powers, he became an absolute monster to fight. But, yeah, Heroclix, NECA, I hated the rate they brought out figures, but the fun thing is every single set introduced some kind of new mechanic. And they weren't always followed up on, but some of them were. Like, Batman introduced the concept of a Prime figure, another rarity. Primes being noted by a green ring around them as opposed to a unique, which has a silver ring. Uniques were notable in that you could only have one of a unique. Like, if I had a unique Superman, I could not play another one of that unique Superman. I could play any other Superman I wanted, but not that one, because that one was judged to be too powerful to have more than one of him on your force. And most of the time that was true, although there were a lot of figures that should have been unique, like Crisis Darkseid, that were not. But Primes took it a step further, and I don't think they were properly utilized. The point of a Prime was this is a figure so powerful that not only is it unique that you could only have one of that Prime, you could only have one of any Prime. Like, if I had Selina Kyle on my team, I couldn't have Bruce Wayne Hush on my team, because they were both Primes. You know what I mean? The problem was, the Primes were not generally so powerful that you would want 2 of them on your team. Like, you wouldn't want to play Selina Kyle, Bruce Wayne Hush, and Caped Crusader Batman on the same team. They don't really... They mesh with 2 different styles, you know what I mean? So that mechanic was kind of wasted. It's like, well, of course I can only use 1 Prime, but why would I want to use a second? It wasn't until several sets later where you would have 2 Primes in a set that were worth playing, and then you had to choose. Notably, I do actually own Prime Selina Kyle, and she's moderately good. Her trick is she can take relics away from people. And she was the first character to do that. Relics being like resources, but the version you just play on the map and they can just pick it up and have it, you know. Which, that's actually another thing the utility belt resource style can do. You can take like, say, my Batarang's off and drop it on the map, and then one of my teammates can pick it up, and suddenly they have Batarangs forever, you know. And the reason for this is the Batarang resource is 1 point, and the Batarang relic is like 10 points or something. So it's paying 1 point to use it once versus like 5 or 10 points to have it for the game. Potentially, because you do still have to pick it up. Although the Fear Itself set introduced characters like the Thule Society Priest and Split Lip, who increase your odds of picking up a relic. Like a Thule Society Priest adds 1 to your relic roll. Split Lip globally adds 1 to your relic roll if he's on the map. The Thule Priest has to be adjacent to you. So, and Split Lip also makes picking up a free action, so you can be carried over to it, pick up the thing, and it's pretty cool. The downside to relics is you only got 1 chance to pick it up, and I think that was retconned later, but anyway, that's something tonight. I also gifted him several games. Like, I gifted him Monster Prom and Monster Camp. I gifted him Overcooked and Overcooked 2. And these are games that could potentially show up in future streams. Like, if we do an 8-hour-ish stream tonight, we're going to have our 2 Heroclix matches. We might do some Barotrauma. We might do some Monster Prom and Monster Camp. I don't know. But it's going to be a big deal. I'm actually probably going to hop on Barotrauma after this, because I'm getting messages in Discord like, hey, anyone want to do this campaign? You know, and I'm probably going to add my fucking quarter to that, you know. Like, hey, I would like to be part of your campaign. I would like to drive the Vroom Vroom boat, you know. We'll see what comes of it. Let me see here. I just gotta see which one it's in. Is it Barrel Crewmates? It is. So, anyway, I'm just glad to have some positive news to give you guys for a change. Oh, shit! I never actually talked about what my new segment was. It's, real quick, it's called Let's Chill. I play, 7 Days to Die in the background. Creative mode, no monsters on, so it's just me building shit and excavating shit, you know. And it's just real chill. I'm talking about, like, gaming shit, just real relaxing commentary, as opposed to this, where I'm just very even-toned. I try and keep upbeat. I refer to it as your weekly beacon of positivity. Anyway, see you next time, everyone. Wow, that one got away from me. Bye-bye, everybody.